beautiful, beautiful Lord's Day and looking very much forward to being with you throughout this day, studying God's Word and worshiping together. We are blessed to begin this Lord's Day with a very special friend of mine, Wade Phillips and his family here. Wade Phillips and I began preaching school together back in November of 2011. And because of Wade, I was able to graduate. Wade helped to push me along and motivate me along. It was a very small school, and Wade and I were the only ones that began and ended together. So he's a very, very dear friend of mine. He's also a missionary in Guam. And Wade will talk about his mission work in Guam during our Bible study hour this morning, and then he'll preach to us during our morning worship service. So I'm very excited to hear about this work. Whenever we began in preaching school, I knew that Wade's ultimate end game was to be in missions. And it was very clear he had a heart for mission work. And with just the exception of a couple of years, Wade spent his time doing mission work in the Philippines and now in Guam. He does a great job. He has a heart for others, a heart for reaching the lost, and I know you'll be encouraged as you hear him deliver these thoughts to us this morning. Let's have a word of prayer, then we can turn our time over to Wade. Father in heaven, we come before you this morning thanking you for giving us this day of life to live. Every day is a special gift and blessing from you. And Father, we are so blessed to wake up this morning and enjoy this beautiful day that's already filled with so many expressions of your love and your goodness. Father, thank you for the fact that today is your day, the Lord's Day. A special day for us as your people to come together and direct our thoughts and our hearts towards you in worship. We're so blessed to be here this morning to begin this time in our Bible study hour. And we thank you for the various classes that are taking place all throughout this building, and those who prepared lessons to teach those who are young and old. And Father, we thank you for giving Wade and his wife Joanna and their friend Carolyn a safe trip to us. Thank you, Father, for his heart, his desire to reach the lost, the good work he's already been doing these past several years, and the good work we know he will keep doing for you. Father, thank you for people like Wade who will go to various areas of the earth to show your love and your kindness and your plan of salvation to those who are in need. As we hear him this morning talk about his mission work and will then preach to us in the next hour, help us to remember that we're all called to be missionaries, that we're all called to serve you in some way. And as we think about our various places of service in your body, help us to do our very best to make the best use of our time and to reach those that we can in this life. Father, we thank you for this good church here in Luverne. We thank you for our elders, our deacons, every single family, every individual who makes the work possible here. And we ask your richest blessings on us as we continue to serve you this year and look ahead to the years that you may have in store for us ahead. Father, most of all, we know that we are blessed because of your Son, Jesus. We owe everything to his sacrifice. We are nothing without him. And we ask all these special blessings and requests through his precious name. Amen.
I assure you that the feelings are very much mutual. I do not feel qualified to accept that introduction. I've never had one that good. That makes you feel good. And we love Brandon and Caitlin dearly. We started out there in Pensacola. Of course, Caitlin came along a little bit after that because they weren't married yet. But think the world of both of them. And I'm going to tell y'all something. I should probably wait to the sermon for this, but when Brandon and I got there, something that we learned, of course, very quickly is that you're going to do chapel. Okay, so the first day, he did chapel. And as you can guess, he didn't use notes. And I'm like, who does that? And second day, I've got to follow him up. I use notes. It's like, come on, man, this isn't fair. I didn't have Frank Chester to train me, but no, I've always been impressed by that young man, and he's always going to be a young man to me, and he still is anyway. But so thankful for our time together there and our friendship since then. My wife, my beautiful wife Joanna, of course, is with me, and I'm going to say it's always, everybody says the work that Wade does. It's the work that she and I do, that God allows us to do. I could not do it without Joanna there to do it with me. The times that she's not there, there's times when I'm there, she's not for a few weeks at a time. It's difficult just to get the things done that we need to get done. It's harder to do without my helpmate to be there. And I'm so thankful that I have a good, faithful Christian wife that allows me and helps me to do the work that we think is really, really, really needed. And it's a great work, not because we do it, but because it's a great work that's needed. So I'll get into it. I could talk for hours about what we've done since we've been there, but we just don't have time for that. I want to show you this just to start with. This is what it's all about. I was impressed. Brandon told me yesterday that you've had 18 baptisms this year here. That's amazing. Whatever you're doing, keep it up. Get better at it even. But we are so, I won't say impressed by that, but so happy about that there are congregations working to convert people, to make Christians, not just to get them wet. And that's so great to hear that, because so many congregations are either dwindling down or they're just stagnant. So it's great to hear of congregations that are working and growing. One thing that we started out with as we went to Guam and moved there full-time 2022, February of 2022, we had learned a few years before then on a fact-finding mission, if you will, to Guam, meeting with Christian friends there, and we asked, they were military, said, what do you need? What can we bring to the table that you don't have? Without a hesitation, family. Never thought about that. I wasn't military. My knees were too bad, so I jumped up and down out of a UPS truck for 21 years instead. So I didn't get to experience that, or didn't have to experience that, whatever you say. Joanna was not a military brat. She was not a military wife, so we just didn't know. We're 700, 800 miles from our home when we're there. We don't have family. They didn't have family. And so they just said, as Lisa and Michael Jones said, we don't have those aunts and uncles, those cousins, those friends, those brothers and sisters to go to turn to, even to babysit for us. None of that. So we set out from there. We're going to do all that we can to be the family that our military Christians need and desire when they're away from home. So we've strived to do that. Unfortunately, you'll see this in a minute, we're down. We just lost our last one, and praying that there will be others there that will come and be a part of what we're doing. This is our Saturday evening thing. This started out actually as a Tuesday night Bible study. When we first moved there, we had our realtor, Dagan Torres, and his wife, or soon-to-be wife, Hennessy Torres, to come and eat dinner with us. When we signed the paperwork there in Ellen's Realty office on Guam, we sat there and went through all the paperwork, which is worse there, by the way, than it is here. And Dagan, after we talked for months, he said, so I know you're with the Churches of Christ, so can you tell me about that? Brandon, what are you going to do when somebody says that? You know, these little bells are going off, right? Yeah, I'll tell you about this. So we had a Bible study, an hour-long Bible study right there after we signed the lease. I said, Dagan, since you know where we live, obviously, why don't you and Hennessy come and eat dinner with us next week? Pick a night. Tuesday's good for us if it's good for you. And we'll eat, then we'll have a Bible study. He said, I'd like that. In fact, he said, I'd love that. He said, but let me talk to Hen and see if it's okay with her. 2 hours, he called me and said, we're in. So Tuesday night, we had dinner. We had a Bible study. We used the back of the Bible because we thought that would be good for them. Sometimes it's not. Depends on where they are. But they had a Bible knowledge of sorts, and so we thought it was a good place to start. Well, the next Tuesday, we had another Bible study, and, of course, dinner and Bible study. And you could tell those lights were going off. You just knew it was getting close. Third week, we had dinner and a Bible study. And if you've been through that, if you know anything about that series, you get to the third book, you've got two choices. You obey the gospel, you reject the gospel. There's no in between. Well, you know, at this time, you could see it. They both knew exactly what they needed to do. Unbeknownst to them, we knew that they were living together. So we knew that there was an issue that they had to overcome. So I said, look, you two, you know what you need to do. I know very well you know what you need to do. First Beach is just down the road from us. Why don't we go baptize you? Are you ready to be baptized? He said, there's something we got to take care of first. So 3 nights later, he calls me, and this is going to bother you because it bothered me. It's something that we've struggled with teaching folks there. He said, there's 2 things that I wanted to talk to you about. He said, first, I said, we want you to baptize us on Sunday. I said, Dagan, it's Friday night. Why would we wait till Sunday? You know the urgency of this. He said, we just can't. We've got work. We just cannot get out of work and go do that. I said, I don't like it. I don't like it at all, but I will pray. And we did literally pray that they would live till Sunday. They said, there's something else. And he said, we want to get married. I said, well, I'm going to tell you something, Dagan. I'm going to consider this. I said, I'll gladly baptize you if you live that long. On one condition. He said, what's that? He said, that you abstain from that relationship until you're married. He said, Wade, that's already done. So we recognized it, and we stopped. We got out of that. We made those arrangements. Sunday, they were baptized. Monday, they were married. And they have been faithful as faithful can be since then. Dagan is the one that I left to kind of lead the congregation while we were gone this summer. I was supposed to be gone for 3 weeks, and it ended up being about 11 weeks. So had a lot of faith in that young man. He's only 25 years old, but very, very faithful, very considerate of what he's doing. And pray for him. Pray for both of them. He is serious about the church. But anyway, that started out with them. It ended up Saturday nights being a Bible study with them, with Jeff Simmons, or whatever, our Navy guys, who you'll see in a few minutes, other military members, and then it kind of grew into whoever wanted to come. It started out with the young people and us, and now it's whoever comes and whoever feels young enough to be there. We have a great time. We eat, and of course we study together. I don't know if I ever turned this on. Yeah, I did. This is Andrea Warren. This is Dagan Hennessy. This is Isabella Smith. She was Navy also. Nuke, we had some very intelligent kids with us. She is now in San Diego, or actually she's on board ship. But this is Jeff. This is Deshaun. This is Andrea's son. This is Emery. This is Andrea's niece but daughter. She has raised her. We love them all very dearly. But something happened as we were planning all this. Joanna and I became JoJo and Paw. So our lives kind of changed a little bit in January. I went early January to Guam because it just had been gone too long. I spent 3 weeks there. Came back for about 2 weeks for the birth of EJ, and then went back begrudgingly. But no, very glad to go back. Hated to leave him a little bug there. And this summer we spent a lot of time together, and it's going to be hard to leave again. But the work is there, and they need us desperately to be there. But we are thrilled with him, and wouldn't take the world for him, no doubt. So in February, as I got back there, the long-standing congregation there, and there's so much I could say that I will not say, but the leader, and I'll leave it at that, the leader of that congregation decided to cancel midweek Bible study. Now, mind you, there only been 6 or 7 people that would show up every week, if that. So, it's almost understandable, but we thought, no, we must keep trying. We need every opportunity to come together and study and just to be together, to build one another up. So I said, okay. Joanna was still over here helping with the baby and our daughter. I said, we'll have midweek Bible study at our house. We'll have potluck and we'll have Bible study. Well, it started out really well, obviously. About the second week of that, one of our elders from our home congregation in Van Cleve, which is where we picked her up too, by the way. How many of y'all know Carolyn? How many of you like Carolyn? Okay, good. Okay, good. Otherwise, it's going to be, we just picked her up on the side of the road. And, she was, no, we love her to death, her and Danny both. But one of our elders, Dwayne Patton, is Air Force Reserve, and he was there on maneuvers. Actually, he's been there twice and spent time with us. That was just our midweek potluck Bible study. We had others who joined us, and we'll talk more about them as we go. This has been a really good thing, March 17th, there were issues, if you will, with the other congregation, but our whole goal from the beginning was to go and plant congregations on Guam. There was one. 170,000 people. There needs to be more than one congregation. It's an island that's 30 miles long, 7 miles wide. There needs to be more than one congregation. Leadership there didn't think so. So that was a difficult thing. We tried for 2 years to teach, to encourage, to edify the brethren there. But it just was to no avail. Finally, it just got to a point where it was like God said, you need to do this now. The signs were just there, So we said, we're going to start a new congregation. And we did. On March 17th, we began meeting at our house. Brandon, you can see this. I did this for you. You see the chairs are in order here, right? Okay, all right. Y'all know about that, right? Okay. So this is our dining room that transforms into our auditorium on Sunday mornings. But that's it. Pretty small house there, but we fit in there. We can fit about, I think, 30 to 35 people. So far we've had 17 is the most. But we're hoping that that will change soon, and we're hoping, praying more like it, that we will grow to the point where we have to find a place to meet besides our house soon. The problem with that is, have you ever been to Guam? Anybody? No one. Usually in a group this size, someone would at least have flown through there in the military or something. But it's a very expensive place to live, very expensive place to do anything. Everything's imported. All the rent is based on military OHA. So what they pay, you pay. And every person who owns real estate knows exactly what they get to pay, so that's what they're going to charge you, with very, very few exceptions. So it's expensive. We figured to buy a building, we're looking at a minimum of $600,000 to $800,000. And that's a building smaller than this auditorium, much smaller than this auditorium would cost that. To rent, we're looking at $3,000 to $4,000 or better thousand every month. So obviously we have issues with that. We want to grow, but we don't want to have to do that now, because we obviously don't have that money. And we're not asking for that, by the way. We're praying that God will provide that somehow when it's time to. Our first worship assembly, there were 10 of us there. 4 of that 10 we're not Christians yet. But you see this couple right here. That's Glenn and Jolene Mesa. They are Chamorro, as is, by the way, Andrea is Chamorro, and of course her son is. That's James Santos. He is Filipino, but he was born on Guam, so he is an American citizen. And you might say Guamese if you want to. But 4 of the 10 were not Christians. But Glenn and Jolene came. The first Wednesday that we had, or first Tuesday we had midweek Bible study, they came. The next week they came. The first time we met on Sunday, they came. The next Tuesday, they came. And it just didn't stop. And they asked questions after questions. And everyone there, if you're born there, you can almost guarantee was born into the Catholic Church. Every one of them that you will talk to that's religious at all was raised in the Catholic school even. So they've been trained in that all their lives. So that's something that we have to work very hard to change, to teach the truth to. But they were interested in the truth. They asked some hard questions. The very first one that Jolene asked me was actually at a market. I'll show you that in a minute. And she said, what does your church teach about homosexuality? And when somebody asks that question, you can almost guarantee there's a loaded reason behind that. And there was, not her. And I said, Jolene, number one, I said, I don't have a church. I said, but wouldn't you rather know what the Bible teaches about homosexuality? Isn't that what we need to do, is go to the Bible for our answers? And I was very kind about it. She said, yeah, you're right. So that kind of opened that door for her to ask questions. Well, they kept asking questions. About 3 weeks, I think, or maybe 2 weeks after we started assembling on Sundays, this happened. She called me again Sunday evening. She said, can you meet us at First Beach tomorrow evening? I said, why not tonight? We just have not been able to get that sense of urgency over. Finally there's one, and I'll get to her in a second, that gets it. And I think they all get it now. But we have really had to work hard, because everybody else as well will have a baptism Sunday, right? Or we'll get around to it. Like, no, do it now. But we got to First Beach on Monday evening. Jolene was there, and so was Glenn. So I said, you know what? Glenn and Jolene, why don't I baptize Glenn, and I'll let Glenn baptize you? And they were thrilled. So Glenn got to baptize his wife into Christ right after he was baptized into Christ. Glenn's now baptized almost as many people, and I baptized, 6, 7, I can't remember, on Guam, and he's baptized 3. So, and that's since March, so that's getting pretty well. But yeah, there it is. Yeah, it's always entertaining watching me baptize somebody in the sea, because, fat floats. So we have one of the prettiest baptistries you'll ever see. No doubt about that. Then just about 5 weeks later, I think it was, they said, Ethan, our son, he's 12 years old, he's 13 now, isn't he? Ethan decided he wanted to be baptized. He had studied with them. When I first started studying with them, they had him sit in with them. Their daughter, Alana, you'll see in a second, she worked all the time. So it was in school. She was the valedictorian of her class. Very intelligent young lady. Also asked really good questions, which I enjoy. But Ethan was very serious about it. He wanted to be baptized. So Glenn got to baptize his son into Christ. And yeah, by the way, we have watchers to make sure everybody gets underwater completely. It may be a millisecond, but they're underwater. It's hard in the ocean. It really is. And now, in between that, we have James baptizing his daughter, Jade.
Jade, do you believe that Jesus is the Son of God? That He died for your sin, was resurrected? All right. With that confession, your dad is now going to baptize you in the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
And now here's Alana. Alana was waiting until her bestie Wade got back. They were in Orlando for a month in July, but I told her parents, I said, she doesn't need to wait. She needs to do this. In fact, before she had left in end of June, she said, Wade, I think when I get back, I'm going to get baptized. I said, Alana, there's water all around you in Orlando. Why are you waiting? So they got back from Orlando. About 2 days passed, and she said, Wade will be back next week, which didn't happen. And she said, you know, I think I'm going to do this Sunday. This was like Tuesday. And then the next day she says, no, I need to do this now. So they went, and Glenn baptized her into Christ. As seeing that family grow like that, I gave Glenn the challenge the night that I baptized him. I said, Glenn, this church, we're praying this church is going to grow to the point where we will have elders. And I want you to be qualified to be one. And he took that to heart. He studies hard. They both really are very serious about it. And I think the whole family is. So pray for Glenn and Jolene that Glenn will be qualified at some point to be an elder, that he will want to be, and that we will have other men that are qualified to do so. This happened after we left as well. Amy Sisson is Deshaun's girlfriend. She is part Chamorro, part Filipino, and part Japanese. Very, very sweet young lady. She had started attending with us on Sunday mornings, got very interested, started asking some questions, and she came from a very, very Catholic family. We thought it was going to be very difficult for her to obey the gospel. Ends up her father has sent me a friend request. So, you know, who knows where that may go. And he's the Filipino. But she finally got to the point where I want to be baptized. I know I need to be baptized into Christ. So she was. So that was 6. I don't know if you were counting. We had 6 baptisms this year, and we are thrilled with that. I don't usually even count baptisms. I don't believe in that because I've seen so many missionaries that throw these gaudy numbers up. And I know, because I've been there, I've seen it, you're just getting people wet for the most part. We're not about that. We want to get people to heaven. We want to convert souls from being sinners to being saints. And that's what it's all about. Getting wet is just part of it. I mean, that's that line of demarcation that puts us into Christ, but that's just where it begins. Believe it or not, we have been told from, I won't say where, but just say it's integral to our work. We have been told that all we have to do, that we're commanded to do, is teach them and teach the gospel to them and baptize them, and after that it's up to them. I said, no, brother, that's not at all what the Bible teaches. That's just the beginning. We're to teach them all things that Jesus commanded them, right? That's exactly what we're to do. So we were told by Andrea even one time, she said, you know, we were taught how to become Christians. We weren't taught how to be Christians. So we have really worked to try to grow Christians into being Christians because they were never trained in what they were to do. You didn't know me before. Brandon obviously did. He knows my love for the Philippines. I still have contacts there. I have a whole bunch of contacts, a lot going on there, but I'll get to the meat of it in a minute. But we went to, in April, right after 2 days after Joanna got back. She was a trooper too. jet lag and all, got on the plane, went to Manila, and we spent, 10, 12 days, something like that there. Met precious little Sarah Banogan at Manila. She's our logistics guru, if you will, when we get there. She translates for us. She sets things up. She gets rooms for us, all those kind of good things. She actually works with my best friend, who is a missionary to the Philippines. Jeff Simmons was like our son on Guam. He was one of our military members, the one that I got to say we were the closest to physically and even relationship-wise. He lived about a third of a mile from us. He would text us sometimes and say, "Y'all got any leftovers?" Now, he's about this tall, but he's from Denton, Texas, and that's the way he talks right there. He's a precious young man. Love him dearly. But anyway, we got to the Philippines. We had a whole bunch of things to do, people to visit, work-related. Some of them were, this was just to meet with the Metro South Church. We helped them with their building fund for some leftover funds that we had before. They are very dear to us. Then these are old friends of mine that I worked with at Philippines Theological College 10 years ago. And Joanna had never got to meet them, and they had never got to meet her, and they always wanted to meet Miss Joanna, or Sis Joanna. So finally they got to. We had a great dinner with them, see all their kids. I love those people. Brandon asked you last night, so when your work runs out on Guam, or if you stop doing this, what would you do? I said, I'd go to the Philippines probably, because I just love those people so much. Warvin Tiemann calls me Dad. And he has for many years. He's 35 years old. So he actually could be my son, age-wise. But we are very, very, very close. I call him son as well. But he sent me a message in October of last year, or September, October, said, "Dad," said, "I go to Santa Maria every day." He works, he and his wife run a coconut and other business as well, but they run it in a local market, but they also deliver it to other markets. His father-in-law has a coconut plantation. They manage that business. His father-in-law basically gave that to them. But he said, "I go to Santa Maria every week, and I see all these people, and I know that no one is evangelizing there. There's no congregation there, and there's no one telling them the truth." He said, "That breaks my heart." That's just how Warvin is. I said, "Warv, make a proposal. You sit down, put pen to paper, and tell me what you need to change that." So he did. Within 2 or 3 days, he had that sitting on my computer. So I started working to raise funds to do that, and was a little slow at getting that done. Honestly, it was a little more difficult than I thought it would be. But I have 2 brothers. One of them is a very dear friend of mine, and the other is a friend of mine now too. 2 brothers in Virginia that fully support what Warvin does. Dagan and Hennessy actually sent him starter funds to get things going for the congregation as far as tables and the trays and all that good stuff. He rented this space, brand new building, rented this space for about $80 a month. Has a, 3-year lease, I think, on it now. He got a long-term lease on it. So very good deal, obviously. But we've also got the funds for him to get a motorcycle with a, I can't even think of the name of it now, but it's like a 6-seater sidecar or back car that goes with it too. So, but he's working hard. He's been working since, May, I think, the 1st of May, with this congregation. No conversions yet, but he works hard, and I know that those will come. I wish everybody could meet Warvin. I really do. Had the opportunity, the invitation to speak at Heritage Bible College in Baguio City while we were there. That was an honor and a thrill for me. The real thrill came after that when we sang, and we heard all those young voices. It's probably 80 young Filipinos singing gospel. Oh, it was such a beautiful thing. If you've never heard Filipinos sing, you're missing a treat. But that was a thrill to get to do that. Also got to visit Philippines Bible College. It's the oldest Bible college in the Philippines. Was established in the late 40s. Kind of struggling right now to keep things up. It's a huge building. You can't really see that. And even off to the side is even another building about the same size that's falling apart and condemned that they want to replace. So we went there kind of in an investigative role there as well. So like I said, there's a lot of work, not vacationing, that's for sure. But back to the Church of Christ, Guam. If you look on Google or Bing or whatever you use, look at Church of Christ, Guam, or Church of Christ on Guam. Please do that so that we'll keep getting those hits. We'll get higher up there that people will find us when they search for it. As soon as we got back, I think the day after we got back, the Banana Festival was going on in our little village of Ipan. How many of you watch Psych? Are there any psychos in the room? That's what we call ourselves, right? We're psychos. There's one. Is anybody else? She's sheepishly held her hand up. Okay, it's a show that was on USA. It's hilarious. I encourage you to find the reruns of it and watch it. Well, in season 2, episode 12, there's a place where, you know, Sean's always calling Gus something besides his name. And it was what? Knick-knack. Knick-knack was Gus's name in this one. And Sean said, Knick-knack, if you don't shape up, I'm going to put you on the first raft back to Talafofo. We live in Talafofo. Epan is a sub-village of Talafofo. We can see the beach that he would have sent the raft to. So it's kind of cool when we see that episode that, hey, we know where that is, you know. It's not that big a place. But anyway, at Epan we had the Banana Festival. We gave away between 30 and 40 Bibles. We've given away unfortunately, we don't keep those records because it's not just us. All the members are doing it too. We've given over 500 Bibles away in 2.5 years. So we are thrilled that we've been able to get the Bibles to do that, and thrilled that people want them because there is a dearth of the Word there. Again, mostly Catholics, so they don't really want you knowing all of what the Word teaches. But we had a great time. We all got soaking wet except for Joanna. Somehow she just didn't. I don't know. Everybody else was dripping. But this is at the Thursday night market in Manila. This was Joanna's one of Joanna's great ideas. I tell you, she's not just my helpmeet. She's the one. She's the idea person. I'm the executor, if you will. But she's the idea person, and she makes me execute. So you know that. But Thursday nights in Manila, it's the village where the University of Guam, Guam Community College are located. So lots of young people, but also lots and lots and lots of Chuukese people, Pompeian people, Palauan, those from Costa Rica, I still don't know what they call themselves. And then also, there's some Yapese there. And then, of course, from anywhere else as well, even some Marshall Islands folks there. So we set up there, started early last year? Year before last, I can't even remember now, early last year, going and giving away Bibles and Bible books and bubbles and kids' Bible books and that kind of thing, and tracts, DVDs, just talking to people, getting to know them. Well, that particular spot right there was actually where Glenn and Jolene set up every week. They just happened to be gone that week. So what happened was we were next door in this little stall. That's how we met Glenn and Jolene. You got to get out and meet people. And I know you're doing that. And I heard that last night, and I was thrilled to know that there's congregations doing what we do. They're getting out to the community and reaching folks. And that's what it takes. They're not going to come to you. You got to go to them. And so we've been doing that. We got to talking to them, became friends with them, and so you know the rest of that story. On Tuesday night, we're not like some people over there for some reason don't want visitors coming in and giving different ideas. We want visitors to come to us and help us and to give us different mindsets and viewpoints of things. We want to learn, and our members want to. We always encourage folks to have a different idea of something. We have doctrine. We cannot stray from that doctrine, but we can have different ideas of how to apply that doctrine. And that's something that we as a movement need to work on with our attitudes with that. There may be different ways of doing things that we don't recognize and we're not comfortable with. That doesn't mean they're wrong. There are some that are. So we have to be very careful and be serious about finding out whether it's right or wrong. Doesn't matter if it's our opinion or not, is it right or wrong? So John and Holly Cooper were there. John was actually the campus minister on Guam from late 70s, skipped a couple of years to get his graduate degree, came back in the early 80s. They're good friends of ours, and actually John and Holly, I think, I'm at least 70% convinced they're going to come stay in January and February for us in our house, continue what we're doing so that we can get back and report, because we hadn't had a chance to do that this year. But you can see the crowd. This is midweek. This scattered around the living room, around the house, very, very casual, but we learn, we have a great time, and we're getting stronger because of that. This is Dagan. He's always got that grin. He's as ADHD as ADHD can possibly be. You never know, squirrel, you never know what's going to happen with him. But when it comes to the Bible and Bible things in the church, he can't find a more serious person. But something that they did here, you can't see the video, but we started this about a month, I guess, before we left. We figured out that we could send cards to people back in the States, but we never know when they'll get there. They may be dead and gone or completely healed or, moved on somewhere else before the cards get there. We just never know. So I said, you know what? We can make videos, and we can send a video to anybody instantly telling them we're praying for them. And we're concerned about you, we love you. So we started doing that. Well, when they found out I was having some health tests run, and I do have a heart issue that just found out about. No big deal, we're controlled. They sent a video to me, and I tell you what, my eyes kind of melted when I got it too. In fact, everybody that's gotten one of these videos has said basically the same thing, that they were very, very touched by it, very grateful for it. So we're working, we're teaching them to work. You can see the group that was there. That's the day they had, it was 15 there, I think. 15, y'all don't count it, you don't know my math. But anyway, you can see that almost everybody there but Jeff is darker than us, and we are thrilled about that. We want the Chamorro people to be involved in this. We want the Chamorro people to do the teaching, the preaching, because honestly, that's how we're going to reach more people. That's just how that culture works. But we're thrilled to have the natives, if you will, I hate using that phrase, but that's what everybody recognizes, be involved in this work. That's what we went there to do, and that's what we're finding now. This Sunday lunch, we did not intend to eat lunch there every Sunday after worship. Joanna likes to cook, we like to eat, and so we had leftovers from Saturday night one night. We had like 6 weeks in a row we ended up eating lunch together, and then some dummy found a smoker on Marketplace, and that was all she wrote. So now, we eat a lot. It's a very big part of the culture there. We found that out to start with. It's kind of what drew us there. We love to eat and have fun too. But they have this idea of familia, family, and so we like to be part of that. Backpack school supply giveaways. If you're interested in something different, we started gathering backpack school supplies last year. We gave away 83, I think it was. 83 backpacks, school supplies, paper, pencils, colored pencils, crayons, glue, all that kind of good stuff. Well, we got the bright idea to triple that this year. So we ended up giving away 260 backpacks. If you bought backpacks lately, they're not exactly cheap, but we did get a good deal on most of them at Ross. Yes, we have Ross over there, and Kmart, if you can believe it. But we've spent a lot of money doing this, but we've reached a lot of people. Every single backpack went out with a Bible, with paper, with crayons, with pencils, whatever those needed depending on their age. I couldn't tell you how many parents or guardians, whoever they were, that came up to me as we were doing this and said, "Thank you for the Bible." That was the part that impressed them, that we gave away a Bible. They didn't have one. And so we're going to continue this. We want to make sure everybody on that island has a copy of the Bible. So if you want to help with something a little different, there you go. There's your thing. But you can see the line back here. This was 8:50. We were supposed to start at 9. They were there at 7:45. Unfortunately, we only had 170 something with us that day, I think. I had to turn 20 to 30 families away and said, "I'm sorry, we just don't have any more." But we're going to be doing another one in a couple of weeks, and we did, although we had to leave early. But you can see here, the rest of them did it for us while we were gone in our home village, Talafofo. The other is at Manilao. So we gave away 260, right at 260, well over 300 Bibles. I don't know how many packs of paper. I've got all that written down somewhere. Oh, actually, I do. Never mind. 200 plus packs of crayons, 238 packs of Crayola pencils, 3,872 pencils. Don't ask me how I counted that many. 185 bottles of Elmer's glue, 139 composition books, 157 Wild Rule notebook paper packs, 221 college rule, 270 plus Bibles. We think it was over 300, and 260 backpacks. So we've had some congregations that really jumped on with us to help us with this. Van Cleve sent Bibles along with others as well. So we were thrilled with that. I've sent a bunch of stuff already this year because Staples had stuff on clearance. So we saved hundreds of dollars buying it on clearance and shipping it over there compared to waiting till next year to buy it. So anyway, that is something that we think is showing people that we care about them. We're not showing off. We're not trying to do that. We want them to know that there is a Church of Christ, that we care about them. We want their kids to be successful. We want to be there for them. We love them, then we have to let them go. And this one's hard. This one is so hard. Like I said, Jeff was like our son. The day that he went on his last deployment, he introduced us to his commander. And he said, "These are my Guam parents." Yeah, I have eye allergies, you know. Brandon knows how emotional I get. I'm a very emotional person. I can't hide that, can't help that, I don't care. But that made me tear up. I was already proud of that young man anyway. Jeff is a good Bible student. He's a good teacher, a decent song leader and getting better, but just a wonderful young man that I'm proud and happy that I got to be a little bit of a part of his life. But he got us passes to see him off for his deployment. He actually stayed in our house 3-4 weeks after he was about to transfer out. Unfortunately, because of my health issues, I didn't get back and spend time with him, and that's still breaking my heart because I love that young man dearly. But that's what it's all about, relationships. This, I wanted to show you. You can see how big on Google Earth, how big this patch of land and water is, right? This is Japan. This is the Philippines. This is Borneo and Papua New Guinea. This is the Marshall Islands. This is FSM, or Federated States of Micronesia. This is Guam. And then the CNMI, which is the Confederation of Northern Mariana Islands. And all those islands in between and around, Joanna and I, as far as we know, are the only full-time missionaries in that part of the earth. We need help. We don't just need financial help to continue what we're doing. We need people there working. We can't get out to all these islands. It's going to be a struggle even to get away to the Philippines at time, but we have a brother, one of those brothers who's supporting Warman said, if you can go 2 or 3 or 4 times a year, I want to pay for it. So it's like, okay, we'll go, we'll help him and encourage him in that work as well. But we need people on these islands, going from island to island, teaching the truth. Now, there are some churches, and there have been works done before there, but there's no one out there working right now full time. So we need bodies. I encourage you to do that. And I threw one in here for Brandon. If you know, well, not this one, but if you know, you'll know here in a minute. This is almost across from our house. We're about 1,200 feet from the water itself, so I'm just going to let you know it's a beautiful place. If you want to come visit, we'll take you to the beach. We'll leave you and go back to work, but we'll take you to the beach, or you can walk to it. Part of my change for my heart is medication, change of diet, and walks to the beach. That's exactly what she said, right? so I can do that. It's a mile round trip, so I need to do that. But this is something you can see if you come visit us. So we encourage you to do that. We got an extra bedroom. We have an extra vehicle, although it's a Guam bomb. It's a repaired Guam bomb now, but we do have that for you. Just pay for your airline ticket, man, and we'll take care of the rest. This is for Brandon. This is actually a couple years old. This is about a 4.5-foot monitor lizard, or Hilatai, I think is how they say it. That one I actually found out a few days after that on the ground. It had fallen out of that tree, hit its head on a rock, and that was it. But he came up to us, she, whatever. We were eating lunch one day, and 3 sets of sliding glass doors on the back of that house. And all of a sudden it sounded like, what? And I was facing the door, Joanna's back to it, and I looked, and he was knocking on the door with his head, looking around. And that, folks, is why we have the air conditioning on and the doors closed, okay? So, I mean, they won't hurt you, but I'm not going to play with it either. You can ask me later about why this is for Brandon. But anyway, but that's just some of the things you might see there. It's actually been over a year since we've seen one, which is kind of odd. We have chickens. If you want chickens, come on. We got plenty of them. Jungle chickens everywhere. But coconuts and mangoes and that kind of thing. But it is a beautiful place. We love the island. We love the culture, the people. More than anything, we love the church and we love God. And that's why we're there. We get to see beauty all the time. It's a wonderful byproduct of what we do, I guess. But we are also 700-800 miles from our grandson. So, you know, that makes it a little difficult. Our kids too, but, you know, it's the grandson that matters, right? But anyway, that's it. Do you have any questions? By the way, this is our Sydney would get me. Our website, thegospelplan.com. You can sign up for our newsletter on this, or I put hard copies back on the back. It's just email. Stamps are too expensive, y'all, so we just do it by email. You can sign up for it. There's 2 sheets in the back. Brandon will scan that for me and send it in a few weeks, I guess. Put your email address, your first name, last name on that. and then we will get that going to you. It comes out usually about once a month, sometimes more often when there's something going on, something to report. So, yes, sir, you had a question. Mostly English. There is Chamorro, which is still there, but there's only a couple of thousand of them that speak that, but they also speak English. Now, you do have Filipinos, about 40,000 there, probably 20,000 of them only speak Tagalog or other dialects from the Philippines. You do have Japanese, Korean, some Chinese, Russian, you name it. So,
how many hours will it take to fly?
a lot. It's about a 24 to 26 hour day. If you go straight. So it's a very long, grueling, terrible day. But I'm doing that this coming Wednesday. I know that's it. No warning. If you have any questions for me, please ask them before we leave today. All right. Thank you so much for your attention.